Now, the New Patriotic Party has accused President John Dramani Mahama of reneging on his campaign promise to repeal legislative instrument, the LI 2462, which permits mining in forest reserves ahead of the 2024 elections. Then candidate Mahama pled to revoke the entire instrument. However, instead of a full repeal, his government has now laid an amendment before Parliament that only revokes the president's powers to grant mining licenses in forest reserves. At a press conference organized today, the NPP Communications Director Richard Ahiangba criticized the move, lamenting the continuous destruction of Ghana's forest reserves. He's joined us in studio for more on this particular development story. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ahiangba.
Thank you, sir.
How are you doing? How have you been in opposition?
I've been good.
All right.
Just worried for Ghana, that's all.
Why are you worried for Ghana?
Well, I don't know. This whole thing is not going well.
Which whole thing?
This whole thing with the NDC promised Nirvana and delivering nothing so far. See the budget they brought. There's no hope in that they're going to change the trajectory of our country for good. In any case, they've already told us that they are going to contract. The economy is not going to grow, more than what was recorded last year. And so that presents real concern for me, that we're on a path of growth, a steady path of growth that they inherited, but somehow they are not able to keep that momentum going. And if we are not growing at the rate we grew last year, it means that we're not going to be doing.
They're just 2 months in office.
Well, I'm saying that the sum total of what they want to do this fiscal year is not going to be better than what was recorded last year.
Right.
But one would have expected that this year will be better than last year.
You have described this budget as an Azan budget. However, today, some levies have been repealed. Isn't that a step in the right direction? They have promised, they have delivered on their promise.
Well, that promise was a joint promise. We made that promise also that we'll repeal it. So today, assuming we're in government, you'll be hearing the same thing that they're saying in Parliament. So it's a no-brainer. To the extent that they remove that, the question is, how are they going to plug the holes? All the gymnastics the finance minister is doing, the tax refund account is going to shift money from there, reducing 2%. It's your own money. It's like shifting your own money. The total that you're bringing in is the same, right? Assuming. In a basket of money, you just put in one here, one there, one there. And he says that he's going to bring one from this side to put it, and that's a creative way of getting money. You're not getting any new money. Well, that 2% is not a discovery of new money. It's the same old money, which is government's money. So the question really is how you're going to plug the hole. And you see that they have the budgets really underfunded some key areas that people wanted to see funding go to. Agricultural sector, heavily underfunded. That's education, heavily underfunded. And so you're looking at a government that is just going to be keeping up appearances for the whole year and doing very little. It sets people's hope very high, and it's going to deliver almost nothing if you look at it. All right,
let's now deal with an issue that you spoke about today at the press conference, which has to do with the mining and President Mahama not delivering on his promise to repeal the LI 2462. Now, wouldn't you credit him with partial repeal for a law that your government enacted?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that the law was enacted under us. The circumstances that led to the conception and the passage of that law, things have changed. And today, what it looks like is that repealing that law is better than having it on our books. And he made a promise.
You think so now?
Absolutely. I mean, you see how ravaged our forests are looking. I mean, on your pictures, you can see it. And there is now a renewed momentum coming from supporters of the NDC to Galamsey even more. And this time, they have imported militants from across the borders to come and help them.
So why did you put in such a law if it wasn't relevant?
But the point I'm saying is that the circumstances under which the law was conceived and passed have changed. Now there is a whole different environment we're operating in, where people have become emboldened because they have won an election, which election in subtle promises that
these
were
things
made
were happening just before the December 7th elections.
Certainly, I was saying that if we're in government, we'll call for the repeal of that law. It doesn't matter
that
that
in government when these things were happening.
But I'm saying that yes. So we're towards the tail end of our government, that's when things really became, very bad with the Galamsey, and you realize there was a call to declare state of emergency. Yeah. And the NDC was chief in that call. And so now that they are in government, what happened to the declaration of emergency? And for nothing at all, the promise His Excellency John Dramani Mahama made about repealing that law, this is the time for it. If we're in government, we'll call for it. So where I sit, assuming that things were different and the NPP is in government, I'll be more than happy to call for it, because the situation today is grave and something ought to be done about it.
Others also term what your stance now as hypocritical, because you had 7 years. You started the fight in April 2017. April 2017 to December 2024. Nothing significant was really done about illegal mining in Ghana by your government.
One thing I'll admit to you is that the fight against Galamsey is an intractable one. It's one that is hydra-headed. It requires a concerted effort. We're just pointing to this law as one key action that must be taken. There are multiple things that ought to be done. I believe the government is paying lip service to the fight. I'll be honest with you about it. Because their people are the ones emboldened, and the ravages that you see that's going on, it's because of their people, right? So right now, taking that law off our books will ensure that all forms of mining, legal or illegal, will not be permitted in our forest bases. And so when that is done, then it gives you some reprieve that you can focus on other areas.
Okay.
But to leave it and allow for the process to carry on, except that the president will not approve it, for me, is not solving the problem. It's actually worsening it, because it goes underground at this point, because then it goes to institutions, the agencies, to be able to approve it.
Okay, briefly, aside from the LI 2462 that you want repealed, what other actions or suggestions do you have for this government with regards to this fight?
I think right now where we are, the government ought to be able to declare a state of emergency and put out a clear plan, either to outright ban all forms of small-scale mining till they regain control on the matter, and then be able to really then give access going forward. We started that by, moving to the small-scale, community small-scale mining. That's a sustainable model. If they can go that route and encourage all the people who want to go into it to be properly accredited, and they can go and do that. But right now, it's out of control. Their own people who they promised in the Galamsey areas that when they come, they allow them to Galamsey, are now coming back to take their pound of flesh. Right. And that's how come suddenly this whole thing has gone out of control. And they need to put control by banning it and repealing this law, to let us start from a clean slate and ensure that we have some modicum of control on the issue. All
right, so we'll come back to you and we'll deal with other matters. You spoke about the AG extensively as well, so we'll come back to you and we'll deal with those issues as well. That is the Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahimba, speaking to me about the issues having to do with illegal mining with regards to this government and their fight against it. You're still watching Channel One Newsroom. You are still watching the Channel One Newsroom. We still have in studio Richard Ahimba, who is the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party. We've already dealt with him on the NDC's fight against illegal mining, and he's shared the NPP's thoughts on the fight against illegal mining. Now, we'll move to other issues, which is the Attorney General's update on criminal investigation. So, Mr. Ahimba, today, one aspect that is worrying to the New Patriotic Party is what you term as the media trial of some of your appointees or former appointees. Now, which specific actions of the Attorney General do you, does it constitute a media trial in your opinion as a party?
Yeah, well, I think you watched on your screens what press conference he gave the last time,
right, following
the arrest of Mr. Kwabena Dubois the last time, and his wife, and some other cases involving the Professor Ameya Okumfi and some others. And the update he gave there and the information he was passing on to the public was highly prejudicial. Matters that ought to be litigated in the courtroom, he is discussing with Ghanaians as though we are to judge the case. If he has evidence of wrongdoing, he should go to the court to charge them. He has
indicated that they are yet to
file charges. Well, he should do that. That's what matters. Ghanaians were interested in the final outcome of the prosecution of people who have misconducted themselves. We're not interested in consuming the evidence. The evidence won't do anything to us. It's the conviction that is crucial to us, because at that point we realize that somebody has abused the state authority that they were to exercise for a collective good, for their personal income or personal benefit, and so therefore they are punished. That's what we're interested in. We're not interested in the update is given, but they are doing so intentionally to create a certain false impression in the minds of the people that these people are guilty to begin with. But we know, as our law provides, that we're all to be presumed innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. So if he is the Attorney General and he has evidence, he should go to court. Prosecute those cases in court, not in the media. So what they are doing is part of a strategy, either because, one, he doesn't believe in the force of the evidence he has, the strength of it to stand a test of scrutiny in the courtroom, or it is part of an elaborate strategy to defame the New Patriotic Party, create this impression that we said they are corrupt, indeed they are corrupt, in the media trial. But these same evidence taken to court perhaps may not stand the test of time.
So how should corruption allegations against former appointees of the NPP be handled? That satisfies both the need for justice and the NPP's call for fairness.
Well, the Constitution is defined how this ought to be done. It's straightforward. I mean, Article 19 talks about it. You are innocent until proven guilty. So everything he came to do the last time is to convict those people in the court of public opinion. What evidence he has, if we think is conclusive enough, if we think is compelling enough, he should take them to court. He didn't charge anybody. He should at least have charged them. Nobody stops him from providing updates. I've heard people say, oh, in the US, in the here, they do that and all of that. In those jurisdictions, they don't come to talk about cases they are yet to take to court. They can talk about a case in court, being mindful of the fact that it's before court, and so they are guided to not to go into the merit of the case. But here, there's nothing before the court, so he literally just came out with the evidence to convict the people in the court of public opinion, and that for me is wrong. That for us is wrong. There's the law. He's a lawyer, a very accomplished one. He knows what to do. Why he's not doing that is confounding. And we think that it's a strategy to defame the New Patriotic Party, create this false impression that we're all corrupt.
Right.
Well, instead of going to the court to test whether or not his suspicion about anybody's corruption is true or not. That can only be told by a court.
Finally, before I let you go, what is the NPP's position on the petition that has been sent for the Chief Justice removal?
Well, that's a new one. I think I'm searching in my mind to see. It may have happened sometime in a very long while ago, but in this Fourth Republic, this is a first. It's unprecedented. I just see that perhaps the NDC, in opposition, were talking about characterizing the legal judiciary as having been biased or one thing or the other, accusing them because they go to court without evidence and they lose cases. But if they were to remove the Chief Justice, which I think is their ultimate goal, even if they remove her, they still have to go to court with evidence. The key thing is that our judiciary must work. But I think that this will compromise the independence of our judiciary.
Thank you so much for your time. That is the Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahiaba, joining us.